I was really excited to join the International Conservation Caucus, and the more I became involved in the work they do, then when I was given the opportunity to be one of the co-chairs, I loved at it. To work with a group of people here in the Hill who care passionately about conservation, not only here at home, but internationally, to be able to do it across the aisle with Republicans and Democrats working together, but also working with the Senate on it, just was such a fabulous opportunity to get to meet more members and to find people who had the passion that I did about making sure that we leave this planet for our children to be able to enjoy and use. Well, I think one shining example is our work on poaching. The work that the International Conservation Caucus does with Democrats and Republicans. I'm on the Appropriations Interior Committee, and we have some direct oversight on working on the ivory law that we now have in the United States. And it could not have happened without bipartisan support and without the administration helping, President Obama, of course, but then having the Senate also wanting to work together, because I think a lot of people sometimes in Washington don't think we work together well. And so when you can have huge successes like we did with the ban on ivory and working on international poaching, it gives me wind under my sails to come back and go to work every day, but it also meant a lot to not only people here in the United States, but people all over the world. Well, besides working on interior issues on the Appropriations Committee, I'm in the Defense Committee. And one of the things that our Department of Defense will tell you is we have to work to reduce conflicts. Conflicts are usually fought over not having enough water, not having enough food, people not feeling secure in their day-to-day lives. And so working on the Global Security Act was a real win for us, not only humanitarily and morally to do the right thing, but it also will make the world much safer, and it will reduce the amount of conflict around the world. So whether it's working on wildlife preserves to make sure that people who are living next to a preserve know that they'll be able to feed their family, they have a say in how their lands are being used for future generations, is really important. And the United States has a role to play in that. I meet with people from other parts of Africa and other parliamentarians. Our national park system, U.S. Fish and Wildlife, they are very respected institutions, which many of these emerging countries would like to see their country have for their citizens to use and enjoy. And so I just think it's a win-win for international security too. The fact that the International Conservation Caucus has relationships with parliamentarians and governments and passing and working with them to come up with their own unique laws to solve some of the challenges that they're facing in conservation really gives our embassies, our State Department, and as I mentioned, sometimes even our Department of Defense, a way to have interaction. And so the role that we have with other parliamentarians is extraordinarily helpful. And I look forward to the next administration only building on that, because conservation is important to people who live in a community next to, whether it's a national park here in the United States or a wildlife sanctuary in Africa. But it's also important to us as people who share this planet to make sure that we leave this planet in a way that we can be sure that our children will be proud that we did the best we could to show good conservation. So conservation for me, that was my mother, making sure that we got out and identified wildflowers and found out how everything interacted. And then visiting our national parks and our state parks, and it's something that when I first started working in the public sphere, I worked on our Parks and Recreation Department. So those are local community parks, but the more you appreciate how there's the ability for families and for individuals to have open space in which we can appreciate the wonders and the creation of this world is really important. And so when I was outside of Arusha in Tanzania, and I met a wonderful park ranger who was all by himself, who had the opportunity to spend some time with U.S. park rangers here in the United States. And he told me what a difference that made to him and how he was interacting with his village and making sure that the park was a win-win for everybody, and the role that the United States played in it. I just knew I had to get involved in working on international conservation and doing everything I can to help leaders in this country understand how we can help and shape leadership in other countries in a way that creates just a win-win for everyone.